with Rock of Ages, you've given us front row seats to the best gig in town, I think, capturing all the energy and atmosphere. Why did you want to bring this Broadway and West End stage hit to our screens?
I think mostly I wanted to do it because I saw the audience reaction. You know, if I was going to do another musical, because Hairspray was the best experience of my life, and if I was going to do another one, it had to be one that had this sort of ravenous fan base, on top of which having... this was a period that was right out of my life. So it was really easy for me to kind of jump back to there. And I liked writing kind of a love letter to a period that too oftentimes gets made fun of, you know, and I just felt like I wasn't making fun of it. It just sort of makes fun of itself. So I wanted to do another one that had a lot of humor. I wanted to do another comedy and one that had a lot of joy. You know, I think if I did another musical after this, I think I'd probably go for something with some grit. But right now I'm kind of about joy, so...
But LA looks quite sort of gritty and grimy, doesn't it? Not to mention the Bourbon Room bathroom. So what kind of Sunset Strip did you want to show us in the period detail?
Well, it's right out of my memory of the Whiskey and the Roxy and the places that I used to go and see concerts. And those are, that was very, very real. Those were, you know, that's what the whole thing is, that once again, not making fun of it and just sort of going there. But in terms of gritty, there's... For people who want to be a part of that scene, it's very sparkly and lovely. And I think I try to get that in there as much as possible. The bathroom, intentionally, I tried to make ugly, but that was just sort of that.
And songs like Here I Go Again by Whitesnake originally really drive the narrative, don't they? And I just wondered what you enjoy about with things like Glee that you've directed, Hairspray that you mentioned. What do you enjoy about sort of storytelling through songs?
Well, you know, in a strange way, that's how I see the world. It's like I'm a product of musical theater, and especially the old MGM musicals where... You know, the songs would travel. You wouldn't stay stationary inside of the song, and it wasn't just like a piece of presentation. Although presentation was always a part of it, a lot of times, you know, you'd move through the world singing and all of that. So one of the things that I like with Here I Go Again, for example, I actually like how in one moment everybody is in the same sentiment, and it actually does move the narrative, and it travels us through time. That was very important for me because. In the stage production, that doesn't really happen, and so I was like, we can't stay stationary, and we have to want to root for the relationships, and relationships don't happen in one night and disappear the next, and you know what I mean. Time has to pass. So that song particularly helped time pass.
And from the pan shot of those squeaky shoes upwards, I loved every
Catherine.
moment of Catherine Zeta-Jones on screen, or her high kicking. Why did you want her on board, and how impressed were you by what she delivered?
You know, honestly, with her, there was a woman who was running potentially for presidential office at the time in the States named Michelle Bachmann, who literally was wanting to squelch everything she wanted. She's very, very conservative. And so I thought, so Catherine sort of dropped right into that paradigm of what was happening in the States in the 80s, which was the Tipper Gore censorship trials. And it just felt like a good match, on top of which I just wanted to see Catherine singing and dancing again. And we had worked together before in like benefits and stuff and had a wonderful relationship, and you know, she sort of always winks at me and she's like, we know how to talk to each other because we're both dancers, and I'm like, yeah, but you're Catherine Zeta-Jones. So that's horse of a different color, red in this case.
And you took a real gamble with your lead, Stacey Jacks, didn't you, casting a virtual unknown in Tom Cruise, I think his name is. Yeah. Why did you think he would be right for the role, and how impressed were you?
For me, I'm telling you, it was as easy as biggest movie star playing biggest rock star. There was a very easy link for me. And I'd seen him really take the piss out of a comic character in Tropic Thunder. And so, and he danced with Jennifer Lopez on the MTV Movie Awards. So everything was stuff that I had seen already. I thought that there were inroads. And if I was going to do something like this, it was very important to the studio to make sure that we, you know, sort of followed the paradigm of Hairspray, filling it with big stars. So I got the biggest.
And you've described our own Russell Brand as a bit unpredictable. How much room was there to improvise? And
it was all improvising, but you hire Russell to do that. I didn't want to handcuff him. I've done a movie with him before, and you know, there's just, for me, that's what I hire Russell for, is to bring all of his Russellness into it, and a Russellosity. He's just so so fabulous. And, Russell Brand, what people sort of don't know about him is he's the sweetest man on the planet, most supportive and lovely. And so he came to play, And what I loved about him is there's also just no sadness in this character, and just to see him light and sort of breezy and wonderful was amazing for me.
And to what extent is every moment on screen kind of choreographed in Rock of Ages? Like we see Julianne Hough's character sort of tottering towards the motorbike, and the mayor and mayoress sort of sitting opposite each other.
It's all choreographed because that's what I am. I'm a choreographer, so I approach my directing. I see the script as basically sheet music, and I see every set as a stage, and it's just how I work. So, good or bad, that's sort of what I am and what I do.
Well, no, I very much enjoy that. It's a real sort of feast for the eyes to sort of see that happening on screen. And what can you tell us about Hey Man, the baboon, who is Stacey Jax's companion?
Well, Hey Man the baboon ended up in the movie sort of as a wink at Michael Jackson and his chimpanzee Bubbles, and we. So, Tom said to me, he goes, I want a friend like that. And I said, well, okay, well, here we ended up with the baboon because the capuchin monkey, which would have been a little easier, was taken by hangover. So what were we left with? A baboon. But he was so funny, and he's very sensitive and very sweet. But then when he would, kind of bear those canines, it was quite something to look at, and vaguely terrifying for some of the actors, but he was ultimately incredibly sweet.
Just finally, what do you think audiences will really enjoy about Rock of Ages?
I think what audiences will ultimately get out of the movie is just this outrageous sense of joy, this wonderful kind of nostalgia for teenagers who don't know it. I think that they'll just find it to be just a fun, sexy ride, and its outrageousness is, once again, all laced with happiness and joy at the end of the day, and has a great "Don't Stop Believing" message, just like Hairspray had. You can't stop the beat. We have "Don't Stop Believing."
Adam Shankman, thanks very much.
Thank you.